Hi friends. What I've been working with today is the whole issue of scripts from childhood. Very often we find that people who have developed issues later in life have programming that comes from childhood that was not positive or helpful. And these scripts can be very, very durable. Increasingly, there's an awareness of something called adverse childhood experiences. And there's actually a test, you can find it on the web, where you answer questions about whether or not you've had certain adverse experiences before the age of 18. As a result of that, you get a score from 1 to 10. My personal score is 6. The higher that score is, the more likely it is that later in life, you will develop some form of chronic medical issue. So those scripts from childhood can be very, very, very powerful, and we need to be careful about them. As we think about the programming you got from childhood, if it was beneficial programming, if your parents got it right at least some of the time, then you want to celebrate that because they've given you a real gift, a well-functioning sense of self. But if your childhood programming is, like mine, negative or diminishing, then what you want to do is learn to celebrate the fact that you survived it. Now, telling yourself a victor's story is always better than telling yourself a victim's story. The victim's story is putting yourself down, and you want to avoid that at any possible cost. In my own family, the scripting was very, very clear. My whole family practically worked for a particular bakery, and all the family members would get together, and they had a clear expectation of what my future was. And my future was I was going to be a janitor. I was going to be sweeping up at the bakery. That was clearly articulated to me. Now, I had some very powerful experiences as a young teenager that enabled me to break free of that program. And the family didn't know what to do with me after that. It was kind of funny. Some years later, I was visiting, and they tried to write me back into the script by offering me a high-ranking position with the bakery. I have no interest whatsoever in being a manager of a bakery, so of course I turned them down. But the thing was, they were trying to write me back in. These family scripts can be very, very durable over time and very flexible in trying to keep people hooked. But after I turned them down, they had nothing to do with me. I didn't hear from any member of the family for decades. They only kind of recontacted me when my mother's health was failing and they wanted to be sure I would take care of her, which I did. So be aware of the scripts you got from childhood. I've just spent an entire morning with a group of people who are living with cancer, and it's amazing the stories they tell about their childhood, how they were diminished, shamed, put down. Now, the DNA molecule has structures at the very top of it called telomeres. The longer these are, the more resistance you have to inflammation. Stress can make the telomeres shorten, and you become more susceptible to inflammatory conditions in life. And those are things like diabetes. Cancer is increasingly understood as an inflammatory condition, multiple sclerosis, arthritis, and so on. So adverse childhood experiences, adverse family scripting, literally changes you at the cellular level. But there's something you can do about it. Tell the story again, but tell it better. Tell it in such a way that you are the victor over what those people tried to do to you. And even if the victory wasn't total, you still did better than you would have if you had succumbed. Give yourself a pat on the back for that and tell the story positively. Thank you very much. If you like this video, please click on like and feel free to subscribe. Check back often. If this sort of information is of use to you and you think you want to know more about what hypno-coaching could do for you, feel free to reach out to me through my website, www.csgiles.org. csgiles.org. Take care.